Hey, Christina, can you hear me?
Hello. Oh. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I don't hear you. No.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I think it was a volume. Can you speak? Hello. I can hear you. Say something. Say something.
On my speaker,
I hear you.
microphone. You can hear me,
Mhm.
but I can't hear you.
Oh. I have everything on.
It looks like my speaker is working. Mm. Let's see. It's working. It's showing that it's working. Right, Mary Jane? My speaker is working, yeah. Hers is not.
I can hear.
Yeah, I can't hear her. It's my...
Family Network. Oh, hi, boy. This is Christina. Are you having trouble connecting? Oh, okay. Let me see. I'm gonna tell Inger to look for you. Just double check if you have the right. Oh, okay. Let me see. Oh, so when you got an email back, you got the Zoom meeting ID, right? Oh, okay. Well, that should work. Okay, it's just that we're having trouble hearing each other, but I'll let her know right now. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Hello. Hello.
Hey, how are you? You may not want to record this.
Boy, do you hear Inger when she speaks?
No.
Oh, okay. Having same trouble. Yeah. What should we do? Are you trying to fix the headphones, Inger? Because I think it would be that. Yeah.
Maybe if I...
No.
I've never done that.
Oh, I think I started hearing you. Can you hear us?
See,
Oh, I hear you now.
I hear you
Okay.
now.
okay.
Okay, perfect.
Is it too loud?
Yep.
No, it's
No?
fine. It's fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you,
Mhm.
Mary Jane.
Thanks, Mary Jane.
Oh, they said hi, Mary Jane.
All right.
Look at you.
Well, I'm sitting in a hotel room and here's
Hey,
Carrie.
Carrie.
We
Hi,
found
are you
a
on
hotel
vacation?
that would let us use their business room. So,
Okay,
Oh.
okay. So you won't need me to pull the PowerPoint up?
well, I'm on my laptop. So if you could, I can do it. I
Okay.
can
Well,
share.
just- Okay.
But if you, we can try it. If you want to, we can try it now.
Okay.
Inger, can you let me in, please?
Who is, huh? Oh,
think
Carrie.
that's Carrie,
Sorry,
uh-huh.
Carrie.
If you'd like to make me a co-host.
Yeah, I need to
then
make
can
you
help
and
with that.
Boyd a co-host.
Right. So we can help you with that
Let's
too.
see. Okay, Christina.
Okay, now I've lost y'all. Let's see how this goes.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Got it?
Hold on, that's me.
You need to,
I muted, okay.
okay, there she goes. Okay.
Yeah, because there we go.
Yeah, if you can make me co-host, I'll try to share.
I think I
You may want to take the recording
just-
off. Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this noonday presentation. It's always, I'm always thrilled to be with the family and helping them out with information. We're going to talk about Special Needs Trust today and a few other things. So let's get started. All right. I unfortunately have to give you this disclaimer. This is not an attorney-client relationship today, and most of the information I'm giving you today is general information. Each person has their unique situation, and I've had a deal before where one of my attendees went back to their attorney and said, Mr. Hanley said you had to do this. So, each person predicament is different. So please take all this as general information.
Okay.
All right. The Hanley Law Office this is my second career. I was a geologist for 35 years and I got my law degree in 2003 and started practicing in 2015 when the oil price crash hit. I've got my wife and I, she's on the line, so I have to say it's not my daughter, it's our daughter. We have a wonderful 28-year-old daughter that we've had guardianship of for the last 10 years. So from a family perspective, we've gone through what all of you on the call have gone through and understand this from a personal standpoint as far as a legal standpoint. And this is my true passion, helping families with kids with disabilities or special needs. And probably about 50% of my practice is doing that. But we do other things such as probate, estate planning, SSI, and Medicaid and elder law. All right. In my practice, I talk to my clients with special needs and talk to them about a special needs toolkit. And of course, I haven't changed my slide from the last presentation, but we're going to talk about the trust part of it. As you see, there's many other parts of the special needs trust toolkit, but we're going to be covering one of those. What I will say that in this presentation, I've got a lot of information. So at the end of the presentation, you've got my email. If you want a copy of the presentation in PDF format, please just email me and I'll be glad to send it to you. All right, in the special needs toolkit, we're going to talk about number 3, which is the types of trust. We're going to talk about the special needs trust, the ABLE Act, which is a kind of a trust, and the Texas Pool Trust. What is a trust? Well, it's really a legal agreement that holds property or anything of that nature and distributes it to the beneficiary. The good thing about the trust, it keeps things out of probate, which is when you pass away, you have to go through probate to have someone to be the executor or administrator of your estate in order to legally transmit your property to loved ones. One good thing about there's things such as bank accounts with payable on death, POD, life insurance policies, and retirement funds. If you put your beneficiary's name on those, then they're outside of probate. In my situation with my daughter, I've got all of my accounts going to my wife first, and then to my daughter's third-party special needs trust as a secondary beneficiary. Trust can be inter vivos, which is outside of your will, or they can be testamentary, which means they sit dormant in your will until you pass away, and then your executor or your administrator brings those trusts to life. Most of the special needs trusts are irrevocable, which means you really can't change a lot of things in it. And once you put the funds in those trusts, they stay in the trust. We do a lot of living trusts for families, which basically they put all their property in a living trust while they're alive, and they're revocable, which means that as you sell a piece of property that's in the trust, you can take it in and out. We'll go over what a self-settled trust is, which is a trust that the beneficiary owns the assets, and then a third party, which most of us use, which I have for my daughter, which we put as our parents or grandparents or a third party, put assets into the trust for the benefit of the beneficiary.
Special needs trust.
I'm sorry? Okay, we'll keep continuing. This is just a slide. We're not going to go through it, but it just gives you a little taste of all the different kinds of trusts that are available. And we're going to go through the lower right-hand corner and go over the third and first party trust, the Arc of Texas Pool Trust, and the ABLE account. All right, as I mentioned, trust, why do we need a special needs trust? Well, the main reason for a special needs trust or an ABLE account or the Texas Pool Trust account is that we're trying to shield assets from SSI and Medicaid. It's perfectly legal to do that. Thank goodness that they allowed us to do it. But if you're applying for SSI and Medicaid, which in most of the cases, a lot of these families are once their kids turn 18, because prior to 18, SSI and Medicaid looks at the income of the parents. And then once our children turn 18 and become adults, then SSI and Medicaid looks at them as an individual. And basically in SSI, they look at how the disability affects gainful employment. I'm going to digress a little bit. You know, a lot of times when our parents file for SSI and Medicaid, they get rejected. And the first time, and a lot of that has to do with the parents just sending in medical records and stuff saying that we've got a disabled child. But really what you have to do is send in information on why the disability affects gainful employment. And that's the word they use. And in our situation, 10 years ago, of course, a lot of our kids are still in school until age 21, but you just need to tell them that. And then if you can write a little information on, well, even though they're in school, if they were working, the disability affects them. Because what happens is that when we go back and file a grievance with SSI and Medicaid, then that's what we end up telling the facility, the SSI, that our kids have these disabilities and how it really affects them getting a good job. If we go as far as administrative hearing, then Social Security will have a person there to evaluate jobs that are available. And what they do is go from the least job up to a high-end job. And so we really have to let them know how the disability effects, such as being in crowds, they're very nervous. I had one client that would not go in elevators or up stairwells. The fluorescent lights hurt his eyes. So things like that that you can think of. A number of clients that or, after the age of 18, they've had jobs, and we've been able to document those jobs on why they may have been let go due to their disability, or why it's a lower type paying job. So we look at things like that. Types of trust, we won't even go through that, but there's a lot of trusts that we use. Marital trust prior to getting married, you got tax bypass trust, generation skipping trust. So in general, there's a lot of facilities that are allowed in Texas to help distribute your assets and help with income and estate taxes, which here in Texas, the estate tax, no estate tax, but you've got a federal tax of, I think, anything under 11.5 million, you're fined. So a lot of different trusts for different issues, but again, we're going to be speaking on these. When I mention a first party special needs trust, that contains assets owned by the beneficiary, beneficiary being your child with a disability or special needs. A third party special needs trust are ones that third parties put assets in. Such as myself, my daughter's got a third-party trust, which in my situation, my parents gave her some money before they passed away. So we have one on the outside of our will. In my situation, I haven't funded my trust yet. It will be funded at my death. And my wife and I pass in an accident, then everything goes to my daughter's third-party trust. It can be money, property, life insurance, or anything. You can basically put whatever you want to in a third-party special needs trust. Now, there are some issues with putting a home into it and what you can pay about that home, such as utilities and stuff. We do that again. I'll talk about that later. There's the Texas Pool Trust. I don't do a lot of these. You can actually do them yourself. A lot of this has to do with an elderly parent that's well up in their age. They don't have any family members that will look after a trust, and they have an aging child or adult with special needs. So what they will do is put their assets into a Texas Pool Trust, and this group will look after the assets themselves. Now, the only issue with the Texas Pool Trust is that you can only put cash in. So unlike the third-party special needs trust, you can put anything in it to speak of. Now, we'll talk about this later, is you've got Medicaid payback, and I'll tell you what that is. But on the first party, the Texas Pool Trust and the ABLE account, there's Medicaid payback, and I'll explain that. The other one is the ABLE account. I use this quite a bit in my practice. Again, you can set it up on your own. I don't do that from my aspect, but I counsel parents on that. But that's good to, in the special needs trust, you cannot pay for food and lodging or give cash out to your loved one. But what you can do is that you can put money into a ABLE account and do that. We'll talk more about that as we go forward. Again, why do we need a special needs trust? Well, it helps in shielding the assets that we're giving our loved ones from SSI and Medicaid. You can only have $2,000 in your name. Of course, you can have a home and one car, but in most cases, our kids don't have that. They also, it's like any other trust too. You can put money into it to look after your loved one as they grow older, and then at your death. With that. So it's a good mechanism to help look after your loved one for sure, and various reasons. You'll always hear this, Texas Medicaid state recovery. What this details, and I won't go into the main parts of it, but once your child turns 55, then at that point, any services that they received, and we'll look at some, here's the ones below that they really look at. At your death, if you've got funds in a first party trust, a Texas pool trust, or an ABLE account, then they're going to go back at the death of your loved one and try to recoup some of that money that paid to you. We also have an issue on the houses that may be in a family. We have to work with that, where Medicaid payback will not get a hold of your home when your loved one dies, and things of that nature. But the good thing about the third-party special needs trust, it does not have Medicaid payback. So you can put your beneficiaries named on the third-party special needs trust. Of course, you can put beneficiaries named on your first-party trust, but at the end of the day, Medicaid will come back and get the money first. And if there's any money left over, then it'll go to your beneficiaries, where the third party is the best one. And what I tell everyone is, put all your stuff in your third-party special needs trust. You can always move assets up to $16,000 a year into your ABLE account to pay for a possible apartment, or give them pay for food, extra food, and things of that nature. I will say, as you all probably know, SSI pays for food and lodging. So that $841 a month is supposed to pay for all the food and lodging for your loved one. And in most cases, that is not enough anyway. But the main thing, excuse me, is that if you qualify in Texas for Medicaid, for SSI, you automatically qualify for Medicaid. And that's the big one. It's your, if you got any regular medical insurance, of course, in Texas, if you've got you and your work, whatever, you can keep your child on your medical insurance until they turn 26. And then at that point, you have to either go strictly on Medicaid or get them a secondary policy. In my situation, we went into the marketplace, which is kind of like the Obamacare stuff, and got my daughter a secondary medical policy, because we had a couple of doctors that would not take Medicaid. But the way it works, it's really good to have both if you able to do that, because she can go to her doctors. But with those marketplace medical insurance, they're very good, but they have high deductibles and co-payments. And that's the good thing about Medicaid. It picks up in most cases, picks up your deductible and co-payments because it's secondary. So it really helps us out if you've got children that have quite a bit of medical payments each month. I went through, I'm hitting all this, but I'm in different parts. But the third party special needs trust is established by really anyone that knows the person. In most cases, it's parents or grandparents. You can have, any person can have as many third party trusts as they want to. First party, you can only have one. ABLE account, you can only have one. But the good thing about third party, you have the problem with having kids with special needs. The divorce rate's very high. It's very stressful on families. So I've been very fortunate, been married to my wonderful wife next month for 30 years. So we've one of the fortunate ones that have grown everything that we've done for our daughters. But unfortunately, there's a lot of parents that have gone through divorce. And the good thing about special needs trust is that one side of the family can set up one for their loved one that has their assets in it. The divorced other side of the family can set up a third-party special needs trust with their side of the family, and you can go forward with that. Because at the end of the day, when your loved one passes, then that side of the family will get the remaining funds. Now, the issue with that is that whoever the trustees are, if you have multiple third-party special needs trusts, really need to talk to each other. Because if one trustee pays for something they're not supposed to pay for, then that your loved one can lose their SSI and Medicaid. So I really stress that if you do have multiple third-party special needs trusts, someone has to work together with the trustees, and it can be a family member or a bank or whatever, and be sure that you're working together and not pay for something that will lose the child or your loved one. That, as I mentioned before, third party is not subject to Medicaid payback, and we'll go over this, but there are a lot of things that it can and cannot pay for. Again, we've talked about that. We'll keep going. First party special needs. Let's go to first party. First party can be back in 2016, the government passed the Special Needs Trust Fairness Act, which actually allowed a beneficiary or a person with special needs, as long as they're under the age of 65, to set up their own first party special needs trust. And it has, it's filled with assets that the person with disability or special needs that they own. Of course, it can still be set up by a parent, or family member with that, but it is subject to Medicaid payback.
We have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One of the question is, can court settlement funds be used for a third-party special needs trust or only first party?
Well, in most cases, if it's a court-ordered settlement, then it's in the name of the individual that's getting that settlement, which is the person under SSI and Medicaid, or younger than that. I've got younger. So those funds, before they get out of the court, need to be put in a first-party special needs trust. I will go over some things. We'll go over this here shortly, but there's something called a 1301 management trust, which is what you see in the probate courts, that we can set up as a special needs trust and put money into that if they knew. But in most of the cases, it's well known that the first party special needs trust, you can put inheritance, lawsuit settlements, or divorce settlements in it. So that's how that works. Special needs trust, you can't pay for cash, give cash to the beneficiary. You can't pay for food and lodging. That's what food and lodging is what SSI pays for. So they cannot pay for that. The way we handle this is that we move money. If you want to give your loved one some money, we move it from your third-party special needs trust to the ABLE account, and you can pay for rent if your loved one is moved out of the house, and help with that rent payment, and it won't subtract from their SSI. If you do pay for food and lodging, then they're going to subtract 1/3 from your SSI payments. Now, the one situation where that works better than putting money into an ABLE account is if your loved one's in a group home or in somewhere like Brookwood, and in most cases, they don't separate out rent from food and from activities. So what I tell parents is that, unfortunately, an ABLE account, you can only put $16,000 in a year. So in order to pay for a group home, which may be $2,500 a month, or somewhere larger like a Brookwood facility that may be close to $5,000 a month, and I don't know exactly what they charge, so I'm not picking on them. But it's almost easier just to pay for that yourself instead of going through the routine of funding an ABLE account with enough money to pay for those costs in a year. And just go ahead and pay for it out of your pocket, and then your 841 will be reduced by 1/3, and it's almost easier to do it that way if you've got some big accounts. But if you're paying $500 or $600 a month for rent and need to help your loved one in an apartment and pay for food, then the ABLE account's the way to go with that, because you can fund it up to $16,000 a year, and you can put up to $100,000 in the ABLE account before SSI sees it. So you can put quite a bit in there, but again, it has Medicaid payback. So I normally tell parents is to only put in enough money in a year based on a month-to-month type information that you have. But here are some of the things that you cannot pay for. And so, as I mentioned before, if you do put a home into a special needs trust for your loved one, then you've got to have another account, such an ABLE account, to pay for gas, electricity, water, and things like that associated with your home. So even if you do put a home, which you can, into an ABLE account, into your first and third party special needs trust, you got to work with the trustee in order to understand what you have to pay for. All right. We have limitations on what you can pay from a first party trust or special needs trust, but you can pay for everything else. So I just, again, this is way more than you can write down, and I'll give you a presentation, email you a presentation, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. You can have a car, you can have a house that you've paid for through a third party special needs trust. You can pay for gas in the car that you own, computer equipment. You can go on trips and vacations, pay for out of special needs trust. Of course, it should only pay for your beneficiaries' cost of the trip. But if the beneficiary needs an individual to look after them, then there's a possibility you can pay for them, but you can't pay for all your family members. So you can really do quite a bit from a first party special needs trust itself for food, lodging, and cash, and we can get around that. Now, we'll mention to clients, as I mentioned, I haven't really funded mine yet, but once you put funds into a special needs trust, you can't take it out. So except for the benefit of the beneficiary. So I'll tell parents is that you might want to keep your money out of it unless you've got a lot of free money sitting around that you won't use, and then you can put in the special needs trust. But please don't put some money into it that you may need down the road until you have to. I mentioned someone had mentioned about court settlement. We have a lot of situations where a parent or loved one or even a grandparent has died and they forgot to mention the special needs trust in their will, and they've mentioned the beneficiary in their will. And what happens is that when it gets into probate, then Johnny is getting $500,000 from his grandfather, but it's going to him directly. And if we don't stop that before it gets out of probate, then they will most likely lose their government benefits until we do something with that money. A couple of months ago, probably about a year ago now, we had a parent that unfortunately died. I had two parents. So one died of COVID and left his 40-year-old son about $50,000 by his name. And of course, we couldn't take that. So we were able to go to court and reformat the will and have the judge to do an order saying that instead of the money going to the young man's name, we set up a first party trust, and the funds went directly to the trust. So there are some things that we can do to do that. I had another situation where a parent died unexpectedly, and he left his 7-year-old son a $500,000 life insurance policy. There's 4 things you can do when a minor in Texas cannot own property or have a bank account without a custodian or parent on it. So what happened with this young man who was 7 years old is that the life insurance company called my client up and said, well, there's a couple of things you can do. He can get a $500,000 when he turns 18. Of course, anyone doesn't want to give a young man $500,000 at age 18. Or you can put into a underage minor account, which is a UTMA account in Texas, which you can hold the funds until the young person turns 21. And then he would have gotten $500,000. A lot of grandparents set up UTA accounts for their kids. Or you can go to court and the mother could go to court and get guardianship of the estate of her minor son. Or the fourth way to do it is they had put in their wills to go to a special needs trust or even a regular trust within your will that if you have a child that doesn't have special needs, then you can put a trust in your will on the outside saying that your death, then your money goes to your minor child or your adult child, and you can space it out. A lot of my clients do from age 18 to 25, pay for food, lodging, college, and a car. At age 25, they'll get half the inheritance, and at age 30, they get half of the inheritance. So, you can do that. But the main thing of the trust is that it protects minors from getting stuff at age 18 when they turn into an adult. Of course, as I mentioned, it helps our loved ones keep from losing their government benefits. So very good. But on the 1301 trust, we do that within the probate section, or in most cases, if you've got a litigated civil court or criminal court deal, then they're can do a trust within that. The issue that I don't like doing with these trusts within the court is that in most cases, the court will have a bank as the trustee. And so at that point, you've got someone else looking after your money. But, if you're a parent that's knowledgeable, you can set these trusts up prior to that, and that's the way to go. So, but the main thing I want to tell you that, if your loved one does get an inheritance or money from someone, then we can set up a trust for that. A lot of times, even with money coming into them, cash and stuff, and birthday cash, well, the cash cannot, you can't do that. But if you're getting checks from someone for birthday present, you've got to cash those, and they're going to show up with your social. And so you may get in trouble with that. So the main thing is that on birthdays and stuff, you may want to get cash from people, or if they do you a check, the check needs to go to a special needs trust. Management trust, this is another type trust that's in the Texas Property Code, and just in a different part of the legal system that you can transfer assets to this particular kind of trust that will shield your minors or your person with disability from that. And on these 1301s and 142s, you can actually have the court, or well, you'll be drafting them, your attorney will, but you can actually draft a 1301 special needs trust. In a lot of situations, it's normal trust for minors, but if they're with special needs and on government benefits, then we can specifically make a special needs trust wording for those. ABLE Act, a great tool for parents that are, again, wanting another facility to help their loved ones. With this, you can pay for cash, food, and lodging that you can't pay for from a special needs trust. You can only have one ABLE account. It doesn't have to be a Texas ABLE account. It can be an ABLE account from another state. It's only been a short time that Texas has had debit cards with their ABLE account. And that was one of the reasons a lot of clients were going out of state to get that. But it takes about 10 days to get your money from an ABLE account. So unlike a special needs trust account that you can tie into a bank account, you can get those funds very quickly. But just realize that you can only get these funds. It takes a while to get them, but again, they have you can put them in with your own special needs trust. You can invest it the way you want to. It can't be a risky investment, but you can invest it and do it the way you want to with the ABLE account. I believe they have two different 2 to 4 investment strategies that they use, and it's a big pool account. And so they can look after it for yourselves. They will be sure you're taking the money out for valid things. So they'll look at that. And again, you can put, I think, 365,000 into an ABLE account. At 16,000 a year. It just went up from 15,000 last couple of years. You can put up to 100,000 in it before it triggers Social Security. So in any case, you don't want to put over 100,000 into this, but again, it has Medicaid payback. But it works great with a third-party special needs trust because you can transfer money from the trust to the ABLE account. Also, if you've got, I believe it's the 529 college fund, a lot of them, that may be the wrong number, but a lot of the grandparents set these up for their kids, or even parents set this up for their kids before they knew they had a disability that maybe keep them out of college or some other facility. And you can move those funds to an ABLE account. Of course, if you've got any other children, you can also pass that to anyone. The good thing about 529 is that it's not under the beneficiary Social Security number. So if you're going through a guardianship, then that's not going to raise any problems. You can have money in the ABLE account or a special needs trust account in guardianship, and you don't have to go out after guardianship of the estate, which is a real headache that you have to go through as far as the reporting each year. A lot of that's mostly with elderly clients that go through guardianship of the person in the estate. In my situation and most situations with our kids turning 18, they don't have any assets. So we use get guardianship of the person. ABLE account, again, I won't go through this, but you can use it on most anything. The main thing is housing, rent, mortgage payments, and food. Special needs trust, you can pay for medical things. ABLE accounts you can pay to that is not paid for paid for by Medicaid. So again, a very useful tool that you work with a third-party trust. I call it a tool with a third-party trust because in most cases I tell parents put their money in a third-party trust, and when you need to move it, pay for other things such as food, lodging, and cash, move that over to an ABLE account. So it really works good together. All right, so I go in the wrong direction here. Arc of Texas Master Pool Trust, another great facility. I don't see a lot of this being used with my clients, but I have had 2 or 3 of the elderly clients, as I mentioned, with their loved ones up in age. But again, this is one where you can move money into it. Again, unfortunately, it only takes a liquid asset such as cash. You can't put mineral rights or things like that or a house into it, but fairly reasonable fees. Again, they look after it themselves. So they actually have a third party. They actually have 2 different types of trust here. So you can get online and look at that. But another great facility if you don't have family and you're getting old and you know someone needs to look after your loved ones. The Texas Pool Trust is an excellent avenue to put your funds in to look after your loved ones at your passing. Again, I mean, that's something we all talk about. I know my wife and I talk about that a lot, and we sit down and worry about what's going to happen to our loved one when we're gone. You know, you don't want them to put it, you know, into a facility and stuff. My daughter has a half brother, and he's 34, and we were there over the holidays, and my wife had to sit down, talk with him, and you know, we stressed him that, you know, we're gone, he's going to look after his sister, but you never know. You're always worried about that. So, you know, I stress to parents that, you know, see what you can do, plan ahead, go to a financial advisor such as Brian, a mutual. There's quite a few others in town that have family with special needs. I know Brian has a sibling with special needs, so he knows that. So whoever you go to, it's really important for you to go to a financial advisor that understands special needs, where they can look at your finances and be sure that you have enough to take care of them when they're gone. I probably have more life insurance than I need to have, but if something happens to me, I've got to be sure that my wife, Carrie, and my daughter, Caitlin, are taken care of. So whether it's life insurance or investments and stuff. That's something that normally, if you got a lot of money, you need to go to a financial advisor. But if you don't have a lot and you have a kid with special needs or a child, go to one now and find out the best way to invest your money where you can look at them when you're gone. So very important things to think of. I know when I was growing up, and even with Caitlin, I didn't pay that much attention to it till about 10 years ago. And I'm glad I did now. But, things such as that, looking after them, things such as, and for me, for instance, I know a number of years, and I'm getting off topic, but it's all very important, is if you have long-term care insurance, because at some point you may be in a nursing home, and if you can't qualify for Medicaid, nursing home Medicaid, then the nursing home bills can run through the investment that you've had for your loved one with special needs. So if you have a chance to check into that, I know I did it, well, I'm pretty old now, but back when I was about 50, my mom and dad were in nursing homes and had long-term care insurance, and that just saved them a ton of money. So I've got a policy on myself. So that will help quite a bit down the road. So things like that, you have to, take care of yourself. Of course, my wife and I took a few days off. I'm in Fredericksburg right now, and my daughter's with her grandmother in New York. So we took a few days off, which we normally never do, but you really have to look after yourself. Look after yourself physically, with your doctor, and mentally. A lot of folks don't like to go and get mental help, but there's no difference with getting help for your head versus your body. And I tell parents is that we have to look after ourselves to look after our kids. So please look at, getting help mentally and physically. There's no difference. And, it's something that we all have to do. And I stress to everyone that's here today, look after yourself, because if you look after yourself, you're going to be able to look after your loved one.
And can I say this really quick too, Boyd? That is a great segue to this, because remember, we do have an opportunity for you to set up what is called a personal network. And this is something to help you when you get stressed. Everyone gets where things are overwhelming and they need to reach out for someone, and to have that network to someone to come in and support you, whether taking your child to the doctor or taking you to the doctor, just giving you some time to reflect on and make changes in your life, or just be there for you. So many times we just need somebody to talk to. We need somebody to help us out with anything. And that's what that network is for. If that child has to go to a doctor's appointment, has to go to a job interview, anything like that, and you're unable to do it, you always have that network that you can call on to help you. So just remember, we also have that to offer you as well. Everything is free. I keep saying that, but yes, Boyd is so right. It's so important that you take care of yourself, because you can't take care of that person if you're unhealthy and you're unable to do it. So yes, please take care of yourself.
Very good. Well, I have some other possible problems, but I say that I've hit most of those. But, the main thing is, especially with a child with special needs, be sure you have a will. If you die in Texas without a will, it's called intestate. And the state of Texas will tell you how your estate will be divided. And you don't want that to happen. Basically, what happens is that it go to your children first by percentage. If you got 2 kids, 50-50. If you've got a child with special needs, then that you're going to lose their government benefits by getting money, unless we, of course, at that point, will fix it in probate court with that. If you're married without a will and you have stepkids that you love dearly, if you die without a will, they're not going to get any of your estate if they're your stepkids. So that's very important. If you've got stepkids, we'll do that. Texas is a community property state. So what that means is that regardless of whether you think you own your house and your spouse may not own half of it, he or she does. That has to do a lot with the bank retirement funds too. If you bring a retirement fund in prior to the marriage, that amount of retirement fund is yours, as separate property, but any interest that you own is community property. So it just gets real cloudy. So please have a will done. The main thing in the will is have a successor guardian's name for your minor kids. And then if you do have guardianship, we'll be getting guardianship of your loved one. Then name a successor guardian in your will for that. We also have a separate document that if you already have a will and you want to name a successor guardian, we can attach a guardianship note to your will. But the way that works, and I've done a couple of these, is that if you both die in a car accident, then you will be able to name a successor guardian for your loved one. You know, you may have great parents, but some parents may not know or how to deal with your child with special needs versus someone else. Now, I will say that if you're going to an attorney, be sure that attorney understands special needs, because it's a big difference. I know that a lot of family law attorneys and divorces do not know special needs. Luckily, we have in the code now that the parent that's paying child support child support goes on indefinitely for a child with special needs. And in most cases, if you do not get a divorce attorney that understands special needs, and they can bring in someone like myself as a consultant to that. All things change. You know, you can say in a normal divorce with a typical child, you've got Wednesdays and every other weekend and things like that as visitation. But with special needs kids, it may be where they get really disruptive with having to go see the other parent every Wednesday or every other weekend. So you really need to get some consulting on special needs if you're going through a divorce, and be sure that those items are ticked off when that, even with the other parent getting every other weekend, the parent that keeps the child most of the time needs some relief. So, you know, things like that have to be in that. But anyway.
Oh, boy, we have a question.
Uh-huh.
What do you consider a market annual fee percentage for a trustee to manage a first-party special needs trust?
It's all depending on the bank. There are some banks that will manage a trust as low as $50,000. Normally, they're around $300,000 before they look at it, but it's all a percentage, and it differs from the banks. So you really have to shop around and see what banks have the best rates, or have the banks that actually understand those types of trusts.
And also I wanted to mention too, since Boyd was talking about working with parents with going through a divorce. We also have a training on that. It's coming up. You can go to our website and it gives you information. It just talks about going through a divorce and what parents should know in Texas. So if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and go on there and sign up for it. Thank you.
Also, there was one question, I don't know, maybe we haven't asked it, is there a benefit between the scenario of SSI plus S&T plus ABLE versus SSI plus ABLE, I guess without the special needs trust?
SSI is a means tested government benefit, which means that you have to have less than $2,000 in assets, and you have to be disabled where you cannot gain gainful employment. SSDI is totally different. It's based on being injured or have a disability after you've worked. That's if you work 40 quarters, then you can get SSDI, and it's not means tested. So it has nothing to do with an ABLE account or things like that. But the ABLE account is basically keeps your 2,000 assets if you have more than that for SSI and Medicaid. So.
All right. Thank you.
I wanted to go over here the mental health authorities or the local authorities that help with SSI and Medicaid. And in the Brazoria and Galveston, it's called the Gulf Coast Center. We were in Harris County for a while, and it's the Harris Center. We're using Texana now. I'm in Fort Bend County, and they're fantastic. That's all I got to say about these people. We do have a lot of, they come out, what, once a month? Once every, Texana.
Yes.
Sorry, I got my wife next to me. I was asking her. Texana comes out about once a month and talks to my wife, my daughter Caitlin, see how we're doing. We do have one of the waiver programs, so very good. I will say they have a good turnover, so we'll get a good advisor, and then they quit and go someone else. But I have to say, Texana is fantastic, and even when we were in the Harris Center, they were very good too. But you can see Harris Center only has Harris County, and Texana has Austin, Colorado, Fort Bend, and a few others. So they've got a huge deal. And then the Tri-Counties living in Montgomery is with Tri-County. I will say that when you get a guardianship, we first started out in Harris County, and then we moved 2 miles across the county line into Fort Bend County. So we had to move our guardianship from Harris to Fort Bend County. You had to do that in court. So just be aware that if you move out of the county, if you have a guardianship, you've got to change it, of course, especially if you move out of state. All right. A few of the things I've talked about. We talked about the living trust, which is keeping property out of probate. And then in the living trust, you can tell how your typical kids will get your inheritance. You can actually have a special needs trust in your living trust in the event that you pass away, and that goes to your loved one. Again, we're in a community property state. Be sure that you have a right of survivorship on your home. What that does is that and with community property, each spouse has 50% of the property of the home in their name. If they pass away, if you don't have a right of survivorship, then their 50% has to go through probate, where if you have a right of survivorship on the home, then it automatically transfers to the surviving spouse. So extremely important. About 15 years ago, they used to do these automatically. Now, if you don't know to ask your title company to put that in the title when you're buying a house, you need to do that afterwards. A lot easier to do it now than have to go through probate with your surviving spouse. Beneficiaries named on life insurance policies and retirement funds, that keeps it out of probate. I mentioned before the payable on death on your bank accounts. That keeps things out of probate, even though probate's not very hard here, but still costs extra money, and those things will allow you to skip that part. Transfer on death deeds and ladybird deeds. Ladybird is not Ladybird Johnson. It was actually contrived in Florida, but it's a way if down the road you're trying to get elderly persons trying to get SSI Medicaid, then you can do one of these deeds on your home, and it passes directly to your beneficiary, and it's not governed by Medicaid payback. So things like this, if you want to leave your home to a third party, you can do a transfer on death deed, and it's outside of probate. So a lot of things that are allowed that we can do for families to keep them out of probate, especially if you've got kids with special needs. It's better to wrap everything up before that. Well, that's what I've got today. We're pretty close to 1, but that's Team Hanley, my wife on the left and my daughter Caitlin on the right. We do a lot of resource fairs, and they help me. I get tickled. The family conference we had 2 years ago before COVID, we were extremely busy. I think this is where that was. We were extremely busy at our table, and we looked over. My daughter was talking to someone about special needs trust and wills, and I was going, what? But she was saying exactly what she was supposed to say. So, you know, it's great to see these kids growing up. And you may not think, but your kid with special needs probably knows more or listening to what everything you say. So we always like to have Caitlin that's showing these parents that these kids can grow up and be good citizens in the town. Caitlin's got 5 jobs. She works at Texana Cafe out in Fulshire, just opened up a cafe where they're hiring kids with special needs, and she works there twice a day,
Awesome.
twice a week. Howdy Ice Cream, they're in Katy, hires kids with special needs. Rob, which is the owner, and True the Truth investor. They, of course, he does phenomenal in Houston, but they hire kids with special needs, and fantastic. There's a few other places in town that we have. Brookwood out at Mattress Mac at 99. My daughter works there one day a week, and they do jewelry and pottery and stuff. She works at Aspire on Mondays, which is they do jewelry and stuff. And Aspire's just, I think, moved in with the Hub. So I'm glad to see that. But recently, a lot of places have come up. She also works at one of our events one day a week. So there's a lot of opportunities for our loved ones after they turn 18 to work, instead of sitting at home into nursing home. I mean, not nursing home, TV. But so, I think it's in the last year and a half that a lot of these places have come up. There is a restaurant near the Memorial City Mall that hires kids with special needs. Belong Cafe. My wife is giving me notes over here. So, we're very fortunate. I think you're going to start seeing, I know that some of the Starbucks, and of course, Sacking and HEB and Randall's are available, but I'm starting to see a lot more companies hire our kids with special needs, and that's refreshing because they just want a chance and to do good and to get out and feel wanted. So, but I've talked enough today. If you have any questions, let me know. But thank you for all your time and effort to take forth your noonday lunchtime to learn little things. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today and giving us this wonderful information. I just want to remind everyone that